Welcome to In Her Voice. My name is Kelly Covert, and I am passionate about helping women live authentically by listening to their inner voice. Get ready to be inspired by women of all walks of life that have set aside their should-bes and not good enoughs and are standing in their true voice, the voice of wisdom that each and every one of us has inside. Hello, you guys. This is Kelly Covert, and you are listening to In Her Voice, and I am so glad, so thankful, so grateful that you decided to press play and that you are welcoming me into your ears today, because it really means a lot to me. And I just want to recognize that and acknowledge what an honor it is. Thank you. Today, I am talking about being aligned. And it's interesting because for my solo shows, I really wait for inspiration and I wait to see where it's coming from. And I'm listening to my inner voice, and I'm also taking in everything around me. And I really got a strong hit today that this is what I am supposed to be talking about, being aligned. And this is a perfect time to talk about this because, we're mid-January here and we're past all of the holiday indulgence, and we're also past the excitement of the new year. Really, we're about 3 weeks in, and this is a time when all of our beautiful intentions and resolutions sometimes start to fall by the wayside. So I thought that would be a really good time to talk about what it means to be aligned, or to be in alignment is another way to think of it. So when you're in alignment, you're feeling true to who you are. So your outward actions and your thoughts and what you speak and who you are is a reflection of truly who you are on the inside, of the most truest form to you. That is what I think of when I think of being in alignment. And you might say, well, Kelly, let's be real. How can we possibly be in alignment 100% of the time? And you can't. There are always going to be days or moments where you are not in alignment. And you know what? That is 100% okay and allowed and expected. My goodness, you guys, you are human. And I never preach perfection on In Her Voice. As a recovering perfectionist, one of my greatest life lessons has been to learn when to be gentle with myself and when to understand that these things happen because we are human and because we are beautifully imperfect. And so when I find myself out of alignment, instead of beating myself up, instead of feeling bad, instead of having some negative self-talk that might sound like, geez, Kelly, what's your problem? Get it together. You know better than this. Gosh, I sound like a mom to myself. But instead of sort of going in that direction, I acknowledge, hey, this doesn't feel good right now. Let's dig into why this doesn't feel good. And then let's figure out a way to make it feel good again, to get back into that place of being authentic to who I am and loving all of that. So here's some really great examples. And of course, I'm sharing a lot from my own life because I know all too well what it feels like to be out of alignment. But here's some really good examples of what it feels like to not feel aligned. So, for example, when you are eating a lot of junk food or food that your body doesn't need or doesn't work well with your body, you feel like junk, like physically it doesn't feel good. I know for me, it doesn't feel good, but also there's like this emotional rub to that. There's this feeling of like, that's what it feels like. It just feels bad. So when I am overindulging, or if I'm, eating a little bit too much sugar. I try to keep my sugar pretty low, or whatever that looks like. Not only do I feel physically bad, and that's something that I should listen to, right? That's a way that our inner voice speaks to us through our physical body. But also I just feel this emotional friction inside of me, and it does not feel good. When I spend too much time on social media, I feel that way. I have to tell you, I love Instagram, you guys. You know I love Instagram. You can come follow me at Kelly J. Covert, but don't overdo it. Because when I fall into that pattern of scrolling, it doesn't feel good to me. I'm not even enjoying myself anymore. And I have to recognize that rub. Sometimes when I fall into that comparison trap, have you ever done that? I'm guessing you have. If you're human, it's so easy to fall into that place, especially if you're creating something really big for your life. If you're wanting to do something that creates an impact in this world, that's world changing, it's so easy to look at other people who are doing that and think, well, I'm not that good. I'm never going to figure that out. You know, they have something that I don't. Whatever the dialogue is that you have, that is us being out of alignment, because that is not acknowledging what we're bringing to the table as individuals. It's not acknowledging our amazing and unique qualities that we have, that nobody else has. And so when we neglect to acknowledge that about ourselves and look to someone else as an example of who we, quote unquote, should be or should be like, that is not in alignment with who we truly are. And it feels bad. So chances are, if something makes you feel bad, and I'm talking about emotionally feel bad, like inside feel bad, then it is not in alignment with your true self. Talking bad about yourself or to yourself, really wallowing in negative self-thinking, not doing your critical self-care. Oy, this is a big one, right? When I am not doing my daily critical self-care, and for me, what that looks like is journaling, doing some affirmations, writing down my gratitude, and I'm going to share a couple of other practices later in the episode that I do every day. When I'm not doing that, I feel the rub. I feel it. Another one is trying to be someone who you aren't. You know, if you've ever been to a cocktail party or maybe a networking meeting where maybe you know a few people, but there's a lot of people that you don't know very well, sometimes you start to put on sort of this facade and it protects you, right? It's like a mask that protects you. It hides that you might be nervous. It hides that you might feel uncomfortable in that situation. But the other thing that it does is it takes away from who you are, from your authentic self. And that is always going to feel worse than being nervous. That's always going to feel worse than feeling shy or feeling like you just need an introvert moment. Can I get a hands raised amen for that? I feel that way oftentimes. And you know, what I've started to do is acknowledge my true feeling. That's in alignment with who I am. Acknowledge that. I'm really nervous right now. What can I do to help myself in this moment? Do I need to go take a break? Do I need to just say something that's ridiculous but real? That's usually what I do. I just want to be me. And I don't want to have to be someone that I'm not, because it doesn't feel good. So why does it matter? Why does it matter if we're aligned or if we're not aligned? Because, you know, no one knows except for you. You're the only one who knows truly when you're not in alignment with your true self, because you're the only one who feels it. I think that some people are so good at putting on a mask that they even fool themselves. But certainly, if you've been doing this for years and years and years, you can hide it from other people. You can hide that feeling of dissatisfaction. And so why does it matter if you're the only one who knows? Well, number one, because it feels like shit, right? Do you really want to feel that way? I don't. I don't want to feel that way. It keeps us from being authentic. If we're trying to hide that all of the time, if we're trying to hide that we're not being us, we're not being us. If we're wearing a mask all the time, we're not allowing our true beauty and our true soul and our true kindness and love and compassion and power and strengths and vulnerabilities to shine through. It inhibits the action that we can take. How does that work? Well, you know what? If you are fully aligned, you are ready. You are expecting great things to happen. You go out and you are confident in the decisions that you make, and you take action in a way that is very, very different from when you are not aligned. The perfect example, again, is eating badly. Sometimes this has happened to me where I start to, I'll have some junky food and I won't feel good. And instead of acknowledging it right then, oh, that food didn't make me feel good physically, but also I'm feeling that rub. I'm feeling out of alignment. So what I will do often is, instead of pulling myself back into alignment, eating the food that's going to make me feel good, I'll eat more junk food. Because now I just want to cover up those feelings. I want to numb out those feelings of not being in alignment. And this can go much further than food, you guys. It can go with your job, with who you are being in a relationship, with who you are being as a parent or as a daughter. I think this is a big one, because as daughters, as grown women who are daughters, it's so easy to revert back to who we were when we were children, because sometimes that's how our parents are treating us, or we're telling ourselves a story that that's how they're treating us. And we must give ourselves permission to be who we are now, not to be who we were 20 years ago. I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to be who I am now. And sometimes that means shocking my mom. Sometimes that means standing up to her and saying, no, this is how I do it. And that's okay. So that's a relationship where we can really think about, who am I being in this moment? Am I in alignment in this relationship? Am I honoring who I am in this relationship? And I think that those emotions that come up from that can really cause us so much angst and so much they're exhausting. They can suck the life right out of you. So how do you know when this is happening? And here's the thing. I think you know. I mean, honestly, you know. But sometimes we're not willing to admit it. We're not willing to admit that the reason that we feel the way we feel is because of something that we're doing. We're not willing to take responsibility for how we are feeling. And you know why? Because it's way easier to put that on someone else. Going back to that mother-daughter relationship, it's way easier to say, well, it's because of the way my mom treats me that I feel that way. My friends. It's time to take responsibility. You are a grown woman. Take some responsibility. Be in alignment with who you are. And that doesn't mean that being in alignment will never feel uncomfortable. Okay? This is not about feeling comfortable. This is about feeling in alignment. Don't you know that when I'm at that networking event and I say something that's ridiculous because that's what I feel like saying, that's uncomfortable for me? It's uncomfortable, but it's also true. It's also honoring me. And that is my primary goal, because that makes me feel good. It makes me feel in alignment. It's not always easy, but it's right. Okay, so how do you know if you're not willing to admit? Well, maybe you just feel like you're in a funk, like you're in a rut, like you can't figure out what's going on. You just feel maybe like exhausted all the time, or you just feel lazy. A word that came up when I was brainstorming for this episode was malaise, which I feel like is something that you only read when you're Googling symptoms for whatever pretend disease you think you might have. Malaise. But it that's kind of how it feels. You just feel blah. like something's off. That's because something is off, right? Because you're not aligned. You're out of balance. You're out of sync with who you are. You might find that you're feeling more negative. So if working on your thinking is something that you've really made an intentional point of doing as you step into this deep work, then when you notice those negative thoughts coming up, that can be a cue to you. Oh, wait, I'm really feeling negative today. What's going on? Where am I out of alignment? Because a lot of times you may not realize what it is that's taking you out. Maybe, it may not be obvious at first. So you might have to do a little bit of investigating, detective work, to see what is the thing that's causing you to feel this way. You may find that you're really irritable. That's a big one for me. I've noticed that when I'm out of alignment, I'm much more touchy with my kids. Like I'm not nearly as patient. I tend to, kind of have a quicker temper when I'm out of alignment. And so that's a cue to me that, hey, Kelly, something's off. You need to figure out what's going on so you can get back in, so you can feel good. So when you know that you're out of alignment, what are the next steps? Well, first of all, like I mentioned, don't beat yourself up. We all get out of alignment. There is not a single soul on this planet who is 100% aligned all of the time. It's not possible. We're human. I bet even the Dalai Lama has bad days. And I think the difference between someone like him and someone who is just starting to recognize this challenge is that I bet he recognizes it really quickly and rectifies it, gets back into alignment just faster. Because you know what? Just like everything, you guys are probably going to be like, here she goes again about practicing, but it takes practice. It takes practice. It's harder at first, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. So acknowledge that you're out of alignment. Acknowledge that you have full power and responsibility for being in the place that you are and for also getting back into alignment. Don't beat yourself up. Next step, do the work. What is your critical self-care? Do you need to journal? Do you need to meditate? Do you need to go for a walk by yourself? Do you need to take a bath? For me, for real, you guys, baths are sacred. That may not be your self-care, and that's totally fine, but you need to know what it is that you need to do on a daily basis. So I wanted to share two of the things that I do on a daily basis that really keep me aligned. And it kind of goes hand in hand with an idea of setting a daily intention. So this is the way I set my intention every day in the morning. So I have a page in my journal. I put the date on it. And the first thing that I do is I write down my gratitude. And I don't have a specific number. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 10. Whatever comes to mind. It could be something very simple, like I'm grateful for my fireplace when it's 15 below zero. I'm grateful for the dog snuggling up on my lap. Sometimes it could be bigger and more complicated. I'm grateful for the moments that I struggle with my children because it's teaching me how to be a better mother. It's teaching me how to have patience. It's teaching me how to show up with compassion. So whatever it is that I'm grateful for in that moment, that's what I write down. Then what I do every single day, I write down this statement. Today I will be. And I just, underneath that, I bullet point how I want to be in the world on any given day. And there are some regulars, I always want to be compassionate. I always want to be loving. But there are other things that come up depending on what I have going on that day. So one of the things that just came up for me the other day was I had an opportunity to really be trusting. And I set that intention. I wrote that down. Today, I will be trusting. Today, I will expect great things. That's something else that I write frequently. Today, I will be powerful. So whatever it is, it can be one thing, it could be a few things, but just taking that time in the morning for me to set that intention and to say to myself, this is who I am and this is who I will be today. And those qualities are always in alignment with who I am. I'm never going to set that intention. Today, I'm going to be bitchy, right? Or today, I'm going to be negative. We would never do that. But it's so easy to fall into that if we're not paying really, really close attention. So those are my 2 practices that I do daily to make sure that I'm aligned. And I have noticed that when I don't do that, it's harder for me. I slip back out of alignment more easily. And it's interesting because the days that I'm most likely to not write those down are weekend days because I'm out of my routine. And those seem like the days that I struggle the most with my kids or with my husband, or just in general, feeling that malaise, that feeling. So I really have to be intentional about understanding what is my critical self-care, daily self-care. I just wanted to share this with you guys because I thought that it's really interesting, and I think that it's the perfect time of year, like I said, to dig into this, to really sort of start to set that intention of who you want to be and how you want to be showing up in the world. And that is aligned with your true, authentic, and of course, amazing self. So as you know, January is my month of connection. And so I have a question for you. I'm going to give you guys a question, and then you can email me the answer or connect with me on Instagram and message me the answer. But I want to know if you are feeling out of alignment, or if you've ever felt out of alignment. What does that feel like? What are the signals for you that you're starting to slip out and that you need to do that adjusting to get back in? And then how do you get back in? What are going to be your go-to steps? Maybe you already have some in place, and that's awesome. Let's share. And maybe I'll read some out in the next episode. Take a few minutes and do this for me because I want to connect with you, but also do it for you, because when you take that time to write this down, even if it's in a little message to me, that's going to stick with you. That's like setting an intention right there. So shoot me an email and let me know if you've ever felt out of alignment or if you feel out of alignment. And then how are you going to realign yourself when that happens? My email is kelly@kellycovert.com. Super easy. Or you can connect with me on Instagram @KellyJCovert. Shoot me a private message or go post on posts that I've put up. I'd really, really love to hear from you. And I have been getting so many emails from you guys. It's like making my heart so happy. And I wanted to share just a little snippet of one that Lyndall from New Zealand sent me just this morning. She told me a lot about what's been going on in her life, and it was so wonderful to connect with her. And I just loved this at the very end. She said, "Every one of your podcasts have meant something to me, and I look forward to the new episode every Tuesday, New Zealand time." And by the way, I have no idea what New Zealand time is. All I know, it's on the other side of the world from where I live. So she goes on to say, thank you for the energy of love and support that you give so freely. Thank you for touching this hardcore chick who never cries. Oh, Lyndall, thank you. I'm feeling like emotional now just reading this. Thank you so much. You touched my heart today, and it meant so much for me to hear from you, just like I want to hear from all of the rest of you. So connect with me this month. As always, I want to let you know that you are amazing. When you are in alignment, you are being true to you. And that's the most amazing thing that you can do any day. You are worthy.